done it all. You've broken every code, appalled the rebel to the floor. You spoke the game, no matter what you say. But only metal, what a bore. Blue eyes, how can you tell so many lies? Come up and see me, make me smile. I'll do what you want, running wild. There's nothing left, all gone and run away. Maybe you'll tarry for a while. It's just a test, a game for us to play. Win or lose, it's hard to smile. Resist, it's from yourself you have to hide. Oh, come up and see me to make me smile. I'll do what you want, running wild. There ain't no more, you've taken everything from my belief in Mother Earth. Can you ignore my faith in everything? 'Cause I know what faith is and what it's worth.
I borrowed this video from Jimbo's channel. Feel free to shout out if you recognise anything in this video. Now we can talk about compression and expansion a bit more. If you remember, I mentioned in a previous video the giants may have been born near the end of the expansion cycle. We do have to consider this. It seems we are at the end of a compression cycle, and the pole shift event will take us into the expansion cycle, a mechanism switch related to the winding and unwinding of the cosmic clock spring, which you can find in Walter Russell's work. When this event happens, we would expect to see a comet and of course widespread chaos and destruction, which is what is explained in scriptures and prophecies, the wrath of God. These are merely warnings for us to understand. Beware the cyclic changes from this amazing construct's mechanisms when they start up and make the needed changes to perform their mechanism's roles. It is part of how it works. We basically live on top of a very powerful and complex machine. Our ancestors were very well aware of this. You will have noticed the genetic changes in our previous End Times Decoded videos. New life forms can be created, and ones long gone may return. These beings may have been created during the pole shift event, which is basically a polarity switch. It may be so powerful it puts out a pulse like an EMP, which of course affects any beings in its path. Perhaps this is Medusa, turning living beings into petrified or crystallized rock instantly. These beings were petrified instantly and seemed completely unaware of anything taking place. Frozen in time, and they litter the landscapes everywhere. We are literally walking on giants and titans. Roger from Mudfossil University also covers these, and you will find he already has DNA proof and is also very easily pointing out various parts of anatomy on some of the largest beings that lay on and within the ground. He will even show you a dragon in northwest Africa that is a few thousand miles in length. One Conscience and Jimbo have also found dragons on the landscape. There is even a reference to the green skin of dragons in John Dee's work, which relate to the West Gates. Dragons are also mentioned in the overlay I used with the world chakras in my first video on decoding this realm. I'll leave links below to these channels should you wish to look further. So those various faces mentioned in scriptures, the sets of 4 faces, they will be playing a part in the genetic makeup of various species. I would not be surprised if there is more information sealed below in the rooms the angel technology reside in, the technology that is responsible for the arts and acts of creation. A good look at Walter Russell's work will show you we are talking about electrocrystallization. If you look further into that process, you will find that some scientists actually made insects appear while experimenting. This was repeated and the same thing happened. Insects appeared. This would make sense when you think of plagues of locusts appearing from nowhere. It may very well have been a certain technology that switched on to do its role, and the insects were like a side effect. However you look at it, we must consider that technology of this type will be playing a big part in creation. This realm is a creating realm. Even Walter Russell stated this. So evolution now has another perspective to consider. Mainstream's version doesn't work and is an excuse to hide the fact technology is involved. Technology created by a creator of very large size, looking at our grid overlays. The technology appears to create a duality, male and female, positive and negative. It is always trying to balance nature. Now we decode what the nature of what the realm really is. It's not hard to see that the nature of this technology is to create opposites and try to keep an equilibrium. This is very, very intelligent design and explains what we see in scriptures very well. It has just been hidden for obvious reasons, for if humans ever had control over this technology, I'm sure you can see how dangerous it would be in the wrong hands. Technology that can petrify, cause quakes, tsunamis, destruction and such, not to mention growing your own gold, silver, copper, etc., which is also mentioned by Walter Russell. Any cooperation knowing this knowledge would be the most powerful cooperation on earth, was how Walter worded it. And here we are today, finding out the earth is flat, realizing that treaties have been put into place to stop you exploring, and everything that have been taught has been a lie. History, space, the sciences, to mention a few. But when they lie about the shape of the world, you realize there is something very important being hidden. The mechanics of our world, the nature of our world, the construct and its creator, and all that implies. The APM model we are creating based upon our new understandings, research and decodings encompasses this information easily into our restructured view of the true world model. It makes perfect sense to us. This is the knowledge we were being taught in ancient times, and various pole shift events and other changes have slowly but surely eroded that information into the idiocy we are being taught today in our schools. An education which is more like brainwashing, indoctrination, assumptions, assertions and excuses, including an impossible world model that cannot be proven scientifically and is easily debunked. Open your eyes, people, there is a bigger picture to see here. Hello and welcome to APM Research, the lunar wave decoded. This video is to help explain and understand the lunar wave as it has been termed. A big shout out here to 1111 Code, whom captured this amazing halo over his home. You will notice as 1111 Code pans around to check the sun's location, it is not part of the sun's halo system but a separate entity. We have covered these in previous research, so this video will help unite them all. Here are some previous research videos on these stationary halos. This is Crow 777's video capturing what he called a lunar wave. What it really is mankind's or the humans' first ever recording of an angel's projection in the heavens, and it was captured by the moon going past the stationary halo, and it being revealed as Crow 777 calls the lunar wave. It's actually just a stationary halo in the heavens that the moon's highlighted as it went past it. So I would say he was probably the first human in history to record a seraphim's projection. This is an animation I did here to show what's really going on. There's the projection, this is the moon going past, and these are the two lines that you could see going down the moon. It's always two lines, and that's why you're looking at a circle, two sides of a circle basically. These are what people are calling sundogs in the heavens. They're not sundogs, they're projections used for guidance. And they usually have 8 nodes on board like this. You'll see them. When you see these sundogs, you will see these around it. So we'll give Crow 777 a little award for that. First human ever to capture Seraphim's projection. So I made a special card just for that moment. But that's what we're looking at, guys, a projection. These waves that people call them, they're just projections from the technology in the underworld. Here is another amazing video by Take Back Space TV. In this clip you can see Jupiter highlighting another stationary halo in the foreground. You will have to remember, all luminaries will highlight these halos. It is not unique to just the moon. Notice in this clip the first part of the halo, it was a very slim line going across the face of Jupiter, and the second part was a slightly thicker band. This can be explained by the thicker band being the closer part of the halo to the observer. Here is another amazing capture by John McKeown, who captured another halo as Jupiter highlighted it in the foreground as it was passing by in the distance. Notice the stars or moons also being occluded on the left side of the screen, indicating the halo is quite wide, which would be expected with the halo being in the foreground. These halos are really responsible for that shimmering effect we see in the heavens. They play a big part in that, as such is the nature of an electromagnetic projection. Here is an animation that basically shows what is really taking place here. Eyes to the skies, guys. People everywhere are recording the sun halo now. You can see these in some of our halo focus videos and some of our presentations. So a big thank you to all of those people helping capture these and sharing them with the world. These are very special. Look for them and you will see them. Here's another stationary halo being captured by Sandra. We originally called these seraphim from our Decoding Scriptures 2 video, where we link them to sarcophagi and scriptures. So, halo hunting tips. Once you locate one, mark it with your compass or the general direction you've seen it. Now wait for one of the luminaries to pass in the background and record it. You will capture the projection as the moon, for instance, passes in the background. Good luck people, and keep those videos coming. There is much more to see yet. Know thy world, only then can you be at one with it.
Hello and welcome to APM Research Operation Ptolemy. Operation Ptolemy is a simple observation and experiment you can try for yourself. Ptolemy's model reigned supreme for around 1600 years, until the Copernican model arrived around the 1600s reset event. Now Ptolemy's model contained epicycle motions of certain luminaries, or planets, the Sun and the Moon. If you take a look at this animation, this is how some people think the Sun moves, and that is mainly due to what the Sun appears to be doing when time-lapsed. It appears to make a corkscrew motion, but this is incorrect. We have featured these epicycles in older works, and Sandra captured it here in this video. It is the rotation of the halo that the Sun is a part of that is creating these epicycle motions. The Sun just follows it as it is part of that configuration. This is what their chem planes are trying to hide by drying up moisture and ice crystals in the atmosphere and interfering with their precipitation processes. Because we have come to find that the Sun, water droplets and ice crystals actually help reveal electromagnetics on a scale that can only match what is described in holy books and creation stories when decoded correctly. To capture the Sun epicycling, simply record it or time-lapse it for around 1 hour. When reviewing your recording, put a line through the centre of the Sun at the start of the recording and a line through its centre at the end of the recording, so it shows you the Sun's path. When you play this video, it should reveal its epicycle motions. Now a lot of people seem to think the Ptolemaic model relates to a circular map, but it does not. It is not a great circle it is referring to. If you listen to certain holy books, or the book of Enoch, it's a great circuit, and the circuit that it's referring to is the circuit you see in our grid. The Great Circuit. It's referenced in, I'm sure it's in the book of Enoch. It is the largest concentric circles you see on the grid we are using. These are blueprints I decoded from the Nazca Lines that match Enoch's descriptions of the portals, which are gates in the north, south, east and west, and also their angles in relation to one another. This grid is a blueprint of the construct, and the Nazca Lines are schematics of various technologies that are in the underworld, which is also referenced throughout our history in many forms and depictions, often personified or using species of creatures. And on screen what you're seeing is, these epicycle motions. This would be it coming towards you, and you would capture that kind of motion, which does look like a corkscrew. But when you look at the motion of the halo the Sun is attached to, the Sun's got no choice but to follow its motion. So the halo is actually epicycling below ground, and we're seeing what's taking place in the sky. This is, the Sun halo, ice crystals, it will reveal all this. And this would be a top-down view, studying it. So depending on your angle, you're going to get different aspects of these epicycle motions showing. These are just some samples to show you what you would expect to see. Not that I'm expecting any of you to be above it looking down, but this is what you would expect to see, these kind of motions. Now obviously this is not to scale either, but this is this is what you would actually see them doing across here. And the reason I've got this on screen at the moment is because I'm also going to show you our solar eclipse, because now you can see that the Sun's in a higher layer than the Moon. We're going to get into the solar eclipse, which I've never released before because I was still studying it in between doing other research. But that there's just to show you one is above the other, and this is what takes place of a solar eclipse. Now if you see these two epicycling across the sky like this is what's really taking place with them. And if you look at the eclipse images at the bottom there, you can see all these curved lines. Those curve, and this is why, because they've got their own paths that they have to follow. If you look on the screen, you'll see the eclipse in there. But take it from me, anytime these two are in the sky, there is eclipses every day. You're just not in the right place to see it. But these will eclipse every day. They're both in the sky. We're going to go a bit deeper on that as well with Ra and Ketu. In fact, I'll bring that into it now, because while you watch that, what's taking place there. So, this animation's to show you what's taking place with these eclipses. So this is the solar eclipse. So obviously the sun's higher up in the layers. This is a top-down view, and you can see how the moon would eclipse it and cause these curved paths that they follow. You can actually see this on some eclipses as well. If you watch the shadows on the eclipses, you'll see them coming in from one angle and leaving from a completely different angle. Well, that angle change is these epicycle motions you're actually seeing in the shadows. Now, on the subject of Rahu and Ketu, you know from our research now, the small halo being Adam is the head, and the large halo is Eve. So that's the head and the body. Both of these two create electromagnetism. Now, this technology, you can switch the head off and the body. As we mentioned in older decodes, there is off switches that will switch the sun off and the halo. So as the sun crosses the sky, say, we see the sun halo, but when it returns back, the sun is shut down. So they switched off the head, or cut off the head, but we're still seeing the part of the body that is part of that projection system. I use the word projection lightly because it's not really a projection. It does have a physical presence in the atmosphere. It's just elevated there because of magnetism and electricity being in opposition. Very clever science. It's not that hard to understand it once you study it. I made this clip to show you how a compass behaves under normal conditions. By normal conditions, I mean without any electromagnetic interference, which can and does happen, such as at the infamous Bermuda Triangle, which is why GPS was created, which is a grid positioning system designed to aid safe navigation. Now take a look at this flight to where these people assumed they were flying towards eastern Russia from Alaska. Upon arrival, they were treated to very hostile and suspicious conditions, and were even threatened with suggestions like, "You will go missing." Look at their compass on the aircraft's dashboard while it was sat on the runway. Do you see a problem here? As you can see, they did not land in eastern Russia, but they definitely landed somewhere west of Alaska. The map and grid you see on screen are the map and model we work with. We have come to find the international date lines are fake, hiding where the luminaries come from and go to, and anything else beyond. They are a mental block, the edge of the globe. The Arctic and Antarctic restrictions are not the only locations hiding more secrets. No shipping or aircraft cross the international date lines. The data is being flipped to appear to be. They are really using routes in the north over Greenland to cross the map, and the same must be happening in the south. GPS your flight and compare it to the flipped data recordings found on Flight Radar 24. World War II was all about taking control of the perimeters, and it has never stopped. In 1947, a US fleet sailed to Antarctica in search of Nazi war criminals. A year later, the US built the world's first nuclear power station. Admiral Byrd mentioned land south of the South Pole. He was not speaking of the globe.
Hello everyone, FPV here. I was asked to look at this flight from Bali to Los Angeles, which due to an emergency of a lady giving birth to a child on the aircraft, it had to do an emergency landing in Alaska. Now this is off its route, should we say. So yeah, I was asked to look at this and to explain how it works with the map that we're using. So here's basically what happened here. I borrowed this video from Celebrated Roof channel, and this was the emergency landing on this projection of a map, that is. See, on this projection you've got Alaska and northeast Russia being very close to each other, but in reality on the real flat map that we use, they're on opposite sides of the world, so they would have to fiddle the flight data basically. But on our map this is what's really happening. You can see here with the aircraft on the right, it's coming up from Bali, and these are the hidden flight routes in the north that we've been noticing. Flies both ways, anything from the west coast of the USA going over to the far east, it would have to do a similar trip. This is to fake the globe. We're hiding the flight data in the north. Perfect reason there why it would land at Alaska before it got to Los Angeles. And concerned by people in Canada, volumes of traffic coming in the northwest vicinity. Now if you look at this clip here, this is some information I captured on their on-flight radar 24. You can see there data manipulation. The aircraft's actually facing the wrong way. It looks like there's parts of the flight missing from the track. And this one here, now this one here is interesting because I've seen the wingtips sticking at the top of the map. You couldn't see the flight path, the wingtip was sticking in the top of the map. And when I clicked it, this was the flight path it revealed. So hidden flight paths going up in the north to fake the globe. This is what you're looking at. So this is how they fake the globe. They're fiddling with the flight data. So I hope that answers it for you guys. This model does work.
So, let's take a look at some of these rooms and put them on the map. The first one, the Aberdeen Tunnel. This is the only underground particle physics laboratory in Hong Kong. It is situated between the two vehicular tunnel tubes behind gates 2 and 5 of the Aberdeen Tunnel on Hong Kong Island. Commissioned by the University of Hong Kong after an assessment of all existing tunnels in Hong Kong, the location of the Aberdeen Tunnel, then under construction in the valley between Mount Cameron and Mount Nicholson, was deemed to be the most suitable site for the undertaking particle physics experimentation. Funded entirely by Hong Kong University, construction work on the laboratory was completed in 1980. The laboratory was practically abandoned after Hong Kong University researchers completed their experiments, as no other experiments of similar nature made further use of the facility. However, in 2006, Hong Kong University and the Chinese University of Hong Kong petitioned the Aberdeen Tunnel administration for permission to reuse the laboratory in order to participate in the Daya Bay reactor neutrino experiment by the Daya Bay nuclear power plant. Due to the high amount of traffic through the tunnel, researchers only have access to the laboratory 3 to 4 times a week, mostly during the late night and early morning hours. During these experiments, maintenance and cleaning operations within the tunnel have to be suspended, and all traffic is required through a one tunnel tube. The Daya Bay reactor neutrino experiment is a China-based multinational particle physics project studying neutrinos. The multinational collaboration includes researchers from China, Chile, the United States, Taiwan, Russia, and the Czech Republic. The U.S. side of the project is funded by the Department of Energy's Office of High Energy Physics. The experiment consists of 8 antineutrino detectors clustered in 3 locations within 1.9 kilometers of 6 nuclear reactors. The one at Japan is called the Super Kamiokande, which is hidden 1,000 meters below Mount Kamiokeko, and it consists of a stainless steel tank filled with 50,000 tons of ultra-pure water. The tank wall has been installed with 13,000 photomultipliers which can detect light that is produced when neutrinos act upon the surface of the water. This is actually a very rare occurrence, but when it happens, it emits a charged particle which is very fast. The speedy particle creates a cone of light that is known as Cherenkov radiation. This is responsible for the blue glow below the surface of the water and is seen inside the detector, which detects incoming neutrinos. The neutrino detector has been very helpful in so many discoveries and new theories in physics, such as providing evidence that the sun is a source of neutrinos. The Baksan Neutrino Observatory is located in the Baksan River Gorge in the Caucasus Mountains in Russia. It consists of the Baksan Underground Scintillation Telescope, located 300 meters below the surface. The Gallium-Germanium Neutrino Telescope is located 2,100 meters down, as well as a number of ground facilities. The Baksan experiment on sterile transitions is currently being conducted at Baksan with aims of understanding sterile neutrinos. The laboratory itself is located in a 4,000-meter long horizontal tunnel mined specifically for this purpose. This is in contrast to most underground physics laboratories, which are placed in abandoned or still in use mines. The entrance of the tunnel is at a valley at 1,700 meters high from sea level, and the tunnel itself is located under the 4,000-meter tall mountain of Mount Androchy. A small town of Neutrino was constructed in the valley in conjunction with the construction of the laboratory to house the scientists and their families. The Confranc Underground Astroparticle Laboratory, or the LSC, is an underground scientific facility dedicated to experimental research in fundamental physics, particle physics, and astrophysics since 1985. It is an underground scientific facility located in the former railway tunnel of Somport under Monte Tobazo in Confranc. The laboratory, 850 meters deep, called Project Luna, is the main research facility under the Tobazo Mountains, standing at 1,980 meters in height. There is a tunnel connecting from Spain to France, and this is a small part of the CERN facility, which is nearby. Some physical experiments include studying the moon flux. This is when the moon is engulfed in the solar wind. So with our APM eyes, we can see this is when the moon is in the new moon phase and closest to the sun. And according to Walter Russell's work, the south would turn towards the sun and it will emit a positive charge instead of its normal negative charge. They also study radon. Radon is a radioactive gas that forms naturally when uranium, thorium, or radium, which are radioactive metals, break down in rocks, soil, and groundwater. Another is ambient photon flux. This is the number of photons per second in unit area on a surface. And neutrons, a subatomic particle that has no electrical charge. More than 50 scientists from 12 institutions from 8 different countries have participated in the LSC scientific program. These include Argentina, Armenia, France, Italy, Portugal, Russia, Spain, and the United States. Here they are studying nuclear astrophysics and hydrogen-burning experiments that produce giant red stars, asymptotic giant stars, classical nova, and IA supernovas. Part of these multiple locations takes us to Italy, where Project Luna resides. Luna studies the thermonuclear reactions which supply stars with the power to shine. In addition to energy production and its effect on stellar structure and evolution, nuclear reactions also affect the production of neutrino stars. Nuclear reactions in stars synthesize chemical elements, but all the lightest 5 elements, hydrogen to boron, are predominantly produced in stars. The China Jinping Underground Laboratory is a deep underground laboratory in the Jinping Mountains of Sichuan, China. The China Jinping Underground Laboratory, with an extremely low cosmic ray muon flux with a low reactor neutrino flux. Jinping will be able to discover the neutrinos from the CNO fusion cycles of the Sun to precisely measure the transition phase for the solar neutrinos' oscillation from the process to the matter effect, to precisely determine the geoneutrinos' flux, the U-TH ratio, and to help determine the geoneutrino models. This in turn leads to low levels of radon in the atmosphere. Its depth of 6,720 meters and making it the best shielding underground laboratory in the world. The actual depth of the laboratory is 2,400 meters, yet there's horizontal access so the equipment may be brought in by truck. Although the marble through which the tunnels are dug is considered hard rock, at the great depth it presents greater geotechnical engineering challenges than the even harder igneous rock in which other laboratories are constructed. The 1,500 psi's of water pressure in the rock is also inconvenient, but marble has the advantage for radiation shielding. The Jinping 2 Dam hydroelectric power project, involving excavating a number of large tunnels under the Jinping Mountain. 4 large 16.7 kilometer head race tunnels carrying water east. 2 17.5 kilometer vehicular access tunnels and 1 water drainage tunnel. Hearing of the excavation in August 2008, physicists at Tsinghua University determined that it would be an excellent location for a deep underground laboratory and negotiated with the hydropower company to excavate laboratory space in the middle of the tunnels. Experiments currently operating in the CJPL are China Dark Matter Experiment, a germanium dark matter detector, Panda X, the particle and astrophysical Xeon detector for dark matter and neutrinoless double beta decay, a 1-ton prototype of the planned 100-ton Jinping neutrino experiment, an experiment taking advantage of CJPL's location far from nuclear reactors and thus having the lowest flux of reactor neutrinos of any underground laboratory, to do precision measurements of solar and geoneutrinos. Also operating in the laboratory is a low background facility using a high purity germanium detector for measuring very low levels of radioactivity. This is not a physics experiment itself, but test materials intended for use in the experiments. Because silicon germanium alloys are rapidly becoming an important semiconductor material for high-speed integrated circuits. Also, Juna, the centerpiece of Juna project, is an accelerator capable of delivering hydrogen and helium beams at 50 to 800 keV. The combination of high current and the deep underground location maximizes the signal background ratio, enabling measurements at low energy where counting rates are severely suppressed by Coulomb barriers. Ideally, nuclear reactions important to astrophysics should be measured in the Gamow peak, the window of energies relevant to nucleosynthesis in stars. India-based Neutrino Observatory, or the INO, is a particle physics research project under construction to primarily study atmospheric neutrinos in a 1,200-meter deep cave under the INO peak near Theni, Tamil Nadu, India. When completed, the main magnetized iron calometer experiment will include the world's largest magnet, 4 times larger than the 12,500-ton magnet in the compact muon solenoid detector at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland. The primary goals of the ICAL are following: unambiguous and precise determination of neutrino oscillation parameters using atmospheric neutrinos, study of matter effects through electric charge identification that may lead to the determination of the unknown sign of one of the mass differences. Study of charge conjugation and charge parity violation in the leptonic sector, as well as possible charge conjugation parity time reversal violation studies. Study of Kohler events, possible identification of very high energy neutrinos and multi-muon events. KGF is located in the Kolar district of the state of Karnataka, India, are a set of defunct gold mines known for the neutrino particle experiments and observations that took place there starting in 1960. The experiments ended with the closing of the mine in 1982. The initial experiments that took place in the KGF were related to the study of cosmic ray muons. KGF was chosen because the depths of its mines allowed muons to be studied in a better environment than what was possible with magnet spectrometers operated at sea level. KGF also allowed the scientists to study the energy spectrum and angular distributions of muons, even at very high energies. Bowlby Underground Laboratory, 3,600 feet below the surface. Work being carried out at the underground laboratory includes the UK Centre for Astrobiology study of extremophile organisms that can survive in salt-rich environment. The site is also used for testing of the NASA Mars rover. In October 2017, the European Space Agency sent astronaut Matthias Maurer as part of the 5th Mine Analog Research Sortie. It is thought that the brines present in the mine may be able to support extremophiles and be like similar sites in caves on other planets. Extent testing and recording programs at the laboratory include ultra-low background material screening of germanium for development of dark matter experiments, an experiment studying the effect of low radiation environment to biological systems, astrobiology studies, space exploration technology development. Proposed experiments as of 2019 include the Watchman water Cherenkov monitoring of antineutrinos, also called AIT Watchman neutrino experiment, which would study antineutrinos originating from Hartlepool nuclear power plant. This project would aim to develop technologies to remotely monitor nuclear reactors for the purpose of nuclear non-proliferation. The Kimballton Underground Research Facility, or KERF, is situated in Giles County, only 45 minutes north of Virginia Tech's main campus. It is an active limestone mine owned by Loist, North America, in Ripplemead, Virginia. The Virginia Tech Physics Department maintains and operates 3 physics laboratories, one on the surface just outside the mine's main entrance, one close to the mine's entrance, and a deeper lab situated near the bottom of the mine at 1,450 meters. Various experiments have been hosted at KERF in the past several years, and all focus on particle physics research involving neutrinos and other subatomic particles, such as development of point contact high purity germanium detectors called Malbec, operation of a low background gamma counting facility suitable for the next generation of low background experiments, and operation of point contact detectors as part of R&D activities for the Majorana demonstrator. The Sanford Underground Research Facility, or SURF, of Sanford Lab is an underground laboratory in Lead, South Dakota, the deepest underground laboratory in the United States. It houses multiple experiments in areas such as dark matter, neutrino physics, research, biology, geology, and engineering. There are currently 28 active research projects. Sanford Lab is managed by the South Dakota Science and Technology Authority. SURF operations are funded by the U.S. Department of Energy through Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory and through a generous donation, $70 million, from Denny Sanford. The state of South Dakota also contributed nearly $70 million to the project. Active experiments include EGS Collab, the Enhanced Geothermal Systems Collab project is a collaboration of 8 national laboratories and 6 universities who are working to improve geothermal technologies. EGS conducts field experiments to better understand and model rock fracturing and other elements of geothermal energy. CASPAR, the Compact Accelerator System for Performing Astrophysical Research collaboration, uses a low-energy accelerator to better understand how elements are produced in the universe and at what rate and how much energy is produced during the process. Majorana demonstrator. The Majorana demonstrator uses 40 kilograms of pure germanium crystals enclosed in deep freeze cryostat modules to answer one of the most challenging and important questions in physics. Are neutrinos their own antiparticles? If the answer is yes, it will require rewriting the standard model of particles and interactions, our basic understanding of the physical world. GeoXTM hopes to create the world's largest, deepest underground network of fiber optic strain and temperature sensors and tilt meters to measure the movement of rock systems in underground laboratory. Transparent Earth. The project is developing a deep seismic observatory for scientific investigations, sensor technology development, and safety at the Sanford Lab. Then we come to the project Dunes, which is deep underground neutrino experiments. It is a leading-edge international experiment for neutrino science and proton decay studies. Discoveries over the past half-century have put neutrinos, the most abundant matter particles in the universe, in a spotlight for further research into several fundamental questions about the nature of matter. Dune will consist of 2 neutrino detectors placed in the world's most intense neutrino beam. One detector will record particle interactions near the source of the beam at Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory in Batavia, Illinois. A second, much larger detector will be installed more than a kilometer underground at the Sanford Underground Research Laboratory in Leeds, South Dakota, 1,300 kilometers downstream of the source. Two prototype FAR detectors are at the European Research Center, CERN. The first started taking data in September of 2018, and the second is under construction. The Long Baseline Neutrino Facility will provide the neutrino beamline and the infrastructure that will support the dune detectors. Groundbreaking for the LBNF excavation and construction at the Sanford Lab occurred on July 21, 2017. So for the origin of matter, let's see what Walter Russell has to show us. Walter says there is much confusion concerning the many kinds of particles of matter, such as electrons, protons, photons, neutrons, and others. Particles are variously conditioned as to pressure, but there is no different kinds of particles. All are light waves wound up into particles which are doubly charged. Their position at any one point in their wave caused them to have the electric condition appropriate for that point. So let's talk a bit about some of these experiments being conducted. We will begin with the neutrinos and antineutrinos. So neutrinos are similar to electrons, but carry no electrical charge. They can escape extremely dense locations. These are electrically neutral, and as proportions of the masses oscillate, the colors will change from white light to reds, greens, and blues. This creates AC electric current and will be changed by the Milky Way timing system or localized angels in the area and their rainbows. Mainstream says the main source of neutrinos is the sun, but we think it would be the star halos due to their scale on the map and grid. As they oscillate, they turn into each other, example, positives and negatives. These are visible outside of our spectrum of sight. When the neutrino becomes opposite of neutral, it is called antineutrino. So the neutrino is going to spin one way, clockwise, and the antineutrino will spin the other, anticlockwise. Scientists like to confuse this whole scenario, so let's lighten up the info a bit. The neutrinos begin neutral. They will either take a positive or negative charge and can flip back and forth between being positive and negative. This is giving us the upward clockwise spiral and the downward anticlockwise spiral of our torus angel energy. So we have this alternating current on the micro and the macro scale, creating the alternating current. This is creating vertically as well as horizontally. Let's take a look at what science says they discovered in 1956 and compare it to the Walter Russell chart pertaining to neutrino movements. So what is dark matter? Well, this takes us to the second topic of experiments. Dark matter is working outside of our spectrum, and science says it has no electromagnetic field or radiation. As we can see by this Walter Russell chart, what science says about dark matter is accurate, that it makes up 85% of components of the universe. It is not visible, but it obeys the laws. So they are detecting it by using cryogenic detectors. They see the heat signature that is produced when the particles hit atoms and cause the scattering of the nuclei. Does anyone watching this even know what kind of equipment they are using to see this 85% range? And are they available to the public? So basically, dark matter is anything outside of the human visual spectrum, as we can see here by Walter Russell's chart. The next topic will be nuclear astrophysics. This is nuclear reactions as they occur in cosmic environments and remaking of astronomical objects. These observations cover the spectrums of nuclear gamma rays, X-rays, optical and radio astronomy, as well as isotopy measurements of meteorites and their stardust, cosmic rays, and material deposits. See, if they are to steal the angel rooms and the Creator's glory, they have to be able to understand it and explain it. The light emitted by the luminaries is a direct result of the nuclear reactions that naturally occur when massive amounts of gas collapse and heat is applied. The elements on Earth are also a result of the nuclear reactions from previous and current generations of this technology. The vast majority of stars are in a perfect thermal equilibrium. The luminosity is still powered by nuclear reactions. Next, we will discuss some comparisons of these experiments and compare to more of Walter's work. An example of simulated data modeled for the CMS particle detector on the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. Here, following a collision of two protons, a Higgs boson is produced, which decays into two jets of hadrons and two electrons. This is an image Sandra and I animated to show the compression, fusion, and expansion parts of the process, while the light particles are demonstrated with the particles accelerating outward from the fusion point. And we can compare this to Walter's work, where he describes what they say they discovered. His work, The Universal One, was put out in 1926. Russell also developed and tested counter-wound sets of coils, each in the shape of overlapping cones. The device was based on the power multiplication principle discussed in many of his books. According to a memo dated in 1961, the device worked because of the false concept of gravity, which assumes it to be a force of attraction which pulls inward from within, instead of a cyclic force which controls the expansion of cold into heat and the expansion of heat into cold. Nature's first principle of power production and the construction of matter is to produce heat from the cold of space. The heat thus generated radiates back into the cold to complete the wave cycle, which automatically repeats itself in this ageless universe of infinite continuity. The concept behind Russell coils. The inner coils are wound from the ends towards the center in opposite directions. The outer coils are wound from the center towards the ends in opposite directions. In addition to transmutation, Russell's work also involved the assembly of a device to produce energy from the background flux of fields. This is what we are seeing with the neutrino movements and particle collisions. So I want to say that finding real pictures of some of these and the labs themselves was next to impossible. As I searched the websites to obtain information and maybe some photos, I noticed my computer being scanned by several repeat IP addresses. Now, had I not been blocking these places, it's hard telling what they would be looking for in my computer. However, I'm sure my IP is blacklisted by now. It makes you wonder why the United States defense system wants to pinpoint my location just for simply wanting to learn about science experiments going on in the world. Each of these labs, as we saw, fell onto very telling locations. On the star halos, on the grid, on angel points. What we can see by placing these underground labs on the map and grid is these are angel rooms that they are studying and learning the functions and cycles. They are planting seeds into the public mind that they built this technology that is producing these effects when in fact the angel technology is already there doing it. Some of the man-made areas that we viewed are their attempt to recreate this glory. This electro-alchemagnetic world we live in was designed by the greatest designer of all with the perfection to allow us to live in our realm where everything we need is provided. The few that steal the glory are the same few that steal everything in the realm and say that we have to slave to be able to live. Open your eyes, people, and see the world with APM eyes, and that we, the many, can begin to free ourselves from the man-made matrix of reality that is being faked by the few.
Tribes of the world, I bring you the most amazing news and information. For over 8 years now, this research team has been doing a live research, decode and investigation into what this world is and how it works. What we have repeatedly been finding is evidence that this world is governed by technology. By that, I mean technology below ground that is responsible for all of the effects of nature. These effects include rain, snow, lightning, winds, earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, tornadoes, waterspouts and many other phenomena. This technology we have also been decoding from various holy books, the Book of Enoch, sacred geometry, the Nazca Lines, temples, sacred sites, and many other avenues we have covered over the years. We also have many visual sightings of this technology in the heavens. The sun halo, the moon halo, the lunar wave, the inverted rainbow we often see above our heads, even a clear daylight capture of one of these halos. Our research is evidence-based and ties in with our decodings of sacred geometry and every creation story we come across. You see, what they have done is personify this glory over time, to help explain its workings. That message is easily lost and confused with our ancestors being accused of worshipping false gods, when in reality what we can see is they were actually glorifying the creation and the angel technologies that help create this world. They were all explaining how it works. This seems to have stopped 2,000 years ago, and ever since it has been systematically erased and replaced with other theories. Do you really think all of our ancestors got it so wrong? What all of this means is there is a creator, and their glory is the angel technologies below our feet, which is referenced everywhere once you know what you are looking for. The creator's glory is not copyright to any race, religion, group or nation. Who would dare to try and copyright such a thing? The angels have a very unique signature, the rainbow. This is caused by a plasma tori field being generated by the angels and the sun refracting and reflecting from this field below the rainbow. The rainbows reside where you see them and they can be mapped. This is why we started Operation Rainbow Warrior, to ask people to start mapping their rainbows so we can add them to a database and map and reveal their locations in the world. Would you be surprised if I told you every rainbow is marking a sacred site below? Marked and unmarked, known and unknown. As you join this amazing project and work of ours, you will learn how the angels in your neighbourhood create your local weather. We have many hints and tips to help you to get to know your local angels. They are usually in groups of 4, so you are looking for 4 rainbows in close proximity and all at a different scale. It is not unique to 4 rainbows, as there may be larger ones to add to this. We have released many videos over the years and done several interviews on the subjects we have covered, from the correct world map, how they seal it off to hide there is a beyond in all directions, and how the seasons work within this map using a decode I did of the Nazca mandala, as I overlaid it with maps until I found the correct map, of which is the Mercator map. No one is crossing the Pacific. The flight data and websites are being manipulated and the data is being flipped to appear to cross the international date lines. This theory of ours has never been debunked. No one can prove they are crossing the Pacific. Don't you find that strange? This is what World War II was all about, taking control of the perimeters. They're all working together to hide this from the people. This has been an ongoing progression of tribal knowledge and destruction of many tribes' creation stories, which all tell the same story. They just have different names for it all. In this video, we go deeper and reveal the spirit form of this technology and how it works, with various references and decodings. So much so, we are going to show you the angel's creation process and many other decodes of this amazing technology our Creator has installed inside the Earth. 9 years ago, I never believed in a Creator. Today, I present to you overwhelming evidence of their existence and their handiwork, thanks to the help of the APM Research team, the Rainbow Warriors, those very observant sky watchers across the plane, and our unique decodings of a great many things. A word of caution. What you will see is going to change the way you look at the world forever. You cannot unsee this. You cannot debunk this. You can only add to it, which reveals more. Our ancestors were all being taught this, in every tribe. You will recognize many parts of our research from your own creation stories, of which we will be decoding more of soon. This is not a religion, this is reality, and it is copyright to none. It is the birthright of every human being to know of this glory, to understand how it works, to partake in its grace, and to protect it from human interference, sabotage, reverse engineering and theft. I hope you would all agree on that. This information overrides all human protocols, jurisdictions and laws, as there is no law above the Most High, for this is what this is all about, our Creator and their glory. What you are looking at on screen is a capture by Sunset Sweden of a waterspout. This is one of the most amazing things you could ever witness in your life, and that is a very big understatement. This waterspout was recorded in Tylösand, Sweden. What we are witnessing is an interface event between the physical angel below and its spirit form above. The interface event takes place through the Vesica Pisces overlap of the 2 halos or coils, which represents the female vagina. The male penis is often depicted using obelisks. It is this process they are referring to, the interaction of the angels and how they create. The personifications we see in stained glass windows, sacred geometry and more are referring to this process. You will come across many sexualized depictions that actually refer to this process. This is the way the angels create. It is a two-way interaction. This is creation before your very eyes, and exactly how the angels create the noble gases and elements from the spirit world above to the physical world below where they reside. These interactions take place every day. They are more common than you think, as creation never stops. We are showing you how to locate your local angels and record these interface events. We will be highlighting more sites across the world where this is very obvious. Some shape the land where it takes place and some do not. Tornadoes, waterspouts and dust devils are signs of this interaction taking place. It can be worded like this: that by the angels of God ascending and descending, it is to be understood that a perpetual intercourse should now be opened between heaven and earth.
Dros Cymru dwi'n rhoi'r ddawn o weledigaeth rhaid mapio'r enfys. Castell Dinas Bran. Mae'r llygad yn ffenestri'r isfyd. Mae hwn yn chacra y rhymwyneb fesica pisgus o anghelion.
Castell Dinas Bran. I remembered this tor from a previous visit to this site. Like Glastonbury Tor, it is an interface site. The castle on the top will be built on top of older Celtic forts. It is not what is upon the surface that is sacred, it is what is below. If anyone lives near this area, do look out for the rainbows. I'm not sure if this one is real, but do let us know and help us mark them on the map. This is a Vesica Pisces overlap of two halos which has shaped the land. Shout out to drone pilot Ed Jackson for allowing me to use his aerial captures of this site. This one has spectacular views of Llangollen, and an Eisteddfod is sometimes held here. There are more of these sites than meets the eye, and we are going to reveal them to you. Why do they build castles and forts on top of the same sites over and over? What does all of this sacred geometry mean? I have decoded the front of the Valley Crucis Abbey, which you will see later in this video. It all refers to the Creator's glory below these sites. Just locate their rainbows. If anyone from Wales is familiar with the creation story, do get in touch. I can decode it for you. Someone is already going to cover Ireland. England and Scotland will also require representation should anyone wish to see their creation story being decoded with APM eyes. This is a capture of a rainbow over a wind farm in Allenby Bay, Cumbria, on the Solway Firth, England. Captured by a Ms. CRW. She said it was right over the wind turbines. I decided to have a drive up there and meet her and try and record it myself. I didn't capture the rainbow that day, but I did capture an event to the left of where it was. This event I recognised as an interface event. I also decoded that this is Medusa. Medusa is a personification of this process, seen here in a Vesica Pisces depiction. I was gazing at Medusa. I did not turn to stone, but things around me were. Medusa proceeded to soak me for 5 minutes, then gifted me a treasure. True story, but that's for another day. A full circle rainbow, captured by rainbow warrior Phil from Glasgow with his drone. To capture a full circle rainbow, you just need some altitude. Every rainbow is a full circle. Capturing one like this helps to be very precise with its GPS coordinates and diameter, which makes them easier to map. Isn't that an amazing view, people? Look at that. This is a capture by Rainbow Warrior Seeker. Pay attention to the small tree on the left. This is registering an activation from a local angel. You will notice the winds rushing towards it, which helps locate them. On the opposite side of the tree, we always notice a bare patch, which may be caused by the winds rushing through from that direction. In a few moments, this angel is going to change into its spirit world form, comprising a group of 4. I did this decode several months ago, which helped decode a great many other things which will follow. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what a group of 4 angels working together would look like. This is how they grace our world in their spirit form. Some are moving, many are stationary. They glide across our world every day doing their roles and processes. Sacred geometry also tells of their story. Our ancestors understood this very well. Do you recognize this? You should. This is Saturn. Saturn's rings are actually its own rainbow. Mama Angel had never seen Saturn before, so I recorded it on my P900 for her. This one's for you, Mama Angel. They say it is 886 million miles away. I don't think so. The moon's rainbow. Under certain conditions, we get to see the moon's rainbow. Look for it and you shall see it. This applies to all of the wandering stars. I see you all, and I'm going to tell your story. First, we will deal with the base layers of 4. This is how I see their configuration and naming convention. Doesn't cutting Medusa's head off make more sense now? This also helped me decode the 400-year reset pole shift event further. Notice how the 4 halos create this configuration. Now I'm sure you have seen tornado events where the tornado is able to lift very heavy objects. This is due to the elevated North Pole of Eve, the largest halo. The spiraling process elevates its poles above itself. This is a localized shift in North Pole from a passing angel. So do be sure to send us your waterspout, tornado and dust devil recordings, please. This will give you a better idea of what's taking place local to you. Notice the wind direction changes. The Walter-Russell decode at the top confirms this is what takes place with their north poles. I will be able to make a better animation now with this information, which will be out later. Eve compresses the ether and passes it to Adam. Adam expands it into his layer. There is a two-way interchange taking place here, including voltages and elements. Layers and anvil clouds. You can see now why aircraft use the tropopause. They will be flying just above the male spiraling pressure waves where the air is calmer. The image in the lower left is an anvil cloud. You can see how the top of it gets flattened by the male's horizontal waves, creating the infamous anvil shape. The Vesica Pisces is also clearly visible. Time-lapse cumulonimbus clouds and you will capture this event. There are interactions also taking place above these ones. Also notice the 4 layers in the Schumann resonance chart and the coherent and organised structure they can obtain. With anvil clouds you will also notice smaller cumulus clouds rising from nearby in a supporting role. These are from smaller halos and don't appear to reach the heights of the larger halo's column. Now we know the reason we see clouds travelling in different directions in different layers. They are all localized angel events taking place at different altitudes of operation. Analog and digital representations. In this decode we see digital is not a new format. The ancients knew it very well. Their creation stories tell this truth. Walter Russell's mortar and the Great Pyramid also use this same design. It has been a blueprint throughout history. This is why it is called sacred geometry. Pillars, layers and temples. In this decode we see how temples represent the truths of the layers. The female vertical columns and the male horizontal planes. This can be found in every culture under many guises and depictions. Atlas is often featured in this role with his plasma torus field on his shoulders. Eve's cone even plays a part with her elevated North Pole. Statues such as Easter Island with a layer or hat on their heads are also depicting the layers. They represent columns and layers. This is how the angels elevate themselves into the sky. It is a very, very clever use of electromagnetics, electricity being 90 degrees in opposition to magnetism. The Sacred Cross decoded. The vertical bar represents magnetism and the horizontal bar represents electricity, or two angels' columns and layers in the ether. This applies to all crosses. The circle of the Celtic cross represents the plasma tora field or halo. The vertical is magnetism and the horizontal is electricity. The next few images are captures that you can try yourself. This is evidence of our research and has been our path for over 8 years now. There is an order to the creation of elements and the noble gases. This chart made by Walter Russell shows the order things are created in.
All motion is curved. All curves are spiral. All spirals are from the halos of angels and are pressure waves.
As a group of 4, we create these 4 divisions, 2 male and 2 female, each one representing the 4 spirit angels operating within the ether. These are the 4 faces of the angels. When all 4 angels are operational, this is the Trinity. They will assemble themselves into the sky above that location. This is then their spirit world form.
The first 3 spirals do not produce any elements. The creation process starts after that, as the Queen's spiraling cone tightens and rises. The King's cone will come from the duality that is created above this location and will meet with the Queen's cone through the Vesica Pisces. This is often depicted as an angel with a sword. The sword represents the interface event. This is why the king must ask the queen for permission to use the sword. The interface process starts and ends with the queen.
When we start up, you will notice a difference in wind speed. As this increases, so do the magnetic and electric pressures that can be witnessed upon the surface, as they register as winds and waves. These are our spiraling pressure waves of electromagnetism. They modify the ether into a coherent form that is structured and can be manipulated. It is also alternating current due to the polarities constantly switching from our halo's poles.
I am the cathode.
And I am the anode. Permission to use my sword, my queen.
Yes, let's show them the process. Permission granted, my king. Should we show them the 10, my king?
Of course, my queen. Hold tight, we're going in. I'm sure you would agree our interface event is not much different to your own.
We just bear different children.
And just like you,
We like to hold our little cherubs high into the sky for all to see.
ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honour to present to you Jacob's Ladder. I command stations 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9.
And I command stations 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10.
I am the Alpha.
And I am the Omega.
I am the beginning.
And I am the end.
Forever
And ever.
and ever
And ever.
and ever
And ever.
and ever
And ever.
and ever. This now brings us to the layers. With these decodings and knowledge, we can now structure the layers accordingly. This is not final, as there is more to add, but this gives us a lot to work with, and gives the reasons for the causes of the events we witness in the heavens. This is how the angels structure and configure the layers. Expect a future update on the layers at some point, but for now this will work fine and answers a great many things. Adam, Eve, the apple and the snake. This animation made Rysandra's husband demonstrates how the process works in elevating the poles on the halo. Ignore the vertical pole in the centre, that was just used as a guide. The spiralling process elevates the poles above itself, which is what creates the torus field, which in turn creates the rainbow. Adam is the smaller halo, Eve is the larger halo. The apple is their plasma torus fields, and the snake is the interface event of their creation process. And now the Valley Crucis Abbey decode. This is how I decode sacred geometry of the old buildings. This applies to all buildings of sacred design, including the Tartarian designs. This is a group of 4 angels. Notice Atlas can play 2 roles, one where he is in a supporting layer. Here are several ways I can decode this same group of 4 angels using different expressions. I hope we have explained this in an easy to understand manner and given the Creator's glory some justice, and of course given you answers you have been long seeking. As always, if unsure, ask us questions. We love questions. You are all welcome to join our Discord and our Operation Rainbow Warrior program. We have a great team of people working there and more are joining. With this knowledge you will have revelations of your own. Enjoy them as we do. We should be taught all of this in school like our ancestors were. This knowledge is the birthright of every human being. It is the story of the creation of our habitable world and the luminaries by our Creator and their angels. We give you this knowledge freely and honestly, and trust you will share it and not profit from it. We are showing you the glory. You can go outside and prove this to yourself. Get to know your local angels. For the record, no one on the team is suicidal, and all are in good health. Should any one of us be attacked in any way, we will take that as an attempt to hide the Creator for the very obvious reasons we have been decoding and revealing to the world over the past 8 years. I dedicate this video to my mother, Mama Angel, whom I had been given very advanced knowledge over the past 3 years of this research to take to the other side. Love you, Ma. This is an APM Research decode.
Come go with me. Open your mind. A skeptical mind was all I ever knew. Finding the knowledge of the real world starts with the point of which has no parts. These are the axioms of life. And I take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say, I find the proofs in reality. 'Cause they were right. We know that they were right. I'll take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say, I'll find the proofs in reality. When all around you is sinking sand, you'll have a place on which to stand. Foundations were already built for you, so open your mind. And I'll take my chances with the older ways, hearing the words of what the ancients said. They say my words sound like sorcery, but there's wisdom in all honesty. Come go with me, open your mind. Come go with me, we'll find the truth.
So let's get down to decoding the Eye of Horus. We're going to use Glastonbury Tor as a good example, seeing as we're working on there at the moment and Jax has been in the area. Well, we might as well feature this one tonight, and it was requested anyway, so let's take a look at this. So you can see the Tor there, and now we're going to add the halo configurations in where they would be. So you can see now how the eye actually gets created. It's the pressure zones between these two halos, that very special place I mentioned in the Vesica Pisces. And the trace in yellow is the eye. So it's the eye of the eye of Horus is actually the eye of the Taurus field. Now before we go further into that, I want to bring you back to Yasmin's video, because I've got something important here I want you to see. See if you can see it yourself. But don't worry, it will get highlighted. Right there. Can you see what's taking place on the ground, right in the centre of that rainbow, going upwards? I'll adjust I'll give it a filter and then put traces there so you can see the shape. You see that? That's what's taking place coming down from the top of that rainbow. Now this is what's depicting, this is the cone. This is Adam's cone coming down to the ground to meet Eve. That's what you're actually seeing there. So this is Adam at work, bringing these layers of cloud down to the ground, driving the positives down basically to connect with Eve and generate electricity. That's what you're looking at there, and I thought that was very important and very useful that it was here. Now we're going to get into some legends now. Excalibur. What you're looking at there, people, that shape that's coming down, that is a representation of Excalibur. And this is why you see angels depicted with swords and spears. It's the tip of the sword or the spear that represents the cone that's coming down. So, no man, woman or living creature can ever extract Excalibur from the rock. Only the Creator's angels can do such a thing, because this is what it actually relates to, and this is where your myths and legends are coming from. King Arthur asks the Lady of the Lake for the sword Excalibur. You see, the king, or Adam, cannot have his power without Eve. Eve starts the process. Eve's the body, Adam's the head. It has to start with the body, otherwise the head doesn't work. That's why he's asking for the sword Excalibur. He's asking for permission for Eve to start up, basically, and then he can start bringing it down. And what you can also see from this, you look at human anatomy, don't they look like lungs? And your throat compressing food down, say, down to your stomach. Now, here's something else I noticed when I added the nodes. The chalice well is right beside node 3 on this halo. What's the chances of that, people? And it's not the only well there either. There's a well either side of that particular node, and here's the sacred geometry from this well, from two different sites. One of the sites' names is the Chalice Well, and the other one is called the White Spring, which is slightly east of the first well. So both of these wells and stuff, isn't it, people? It all comes together and makes more and more sense the more you look at it. This is what this is the gardens around Avalon. People's always known this. I'm going to give this, a better wording and presentation. I didn't have time to finish it this week because I was doing the animations and things, but it was so you could see the Eye of Horus. And like this one, look at those two stones. They're depictions of the two halos, Adam's halo and Eve's halo, right there, and the waters flowing through them. Now that's one of the wells there. That pumps up water. It's the angels that are pumping the water up, and you're getting, this is a popular site. You can go there and drink that. And look, there's the eye there in the water with the two halos, where it intersects the two halos. So it's depicted everywhere, the sacred geometry, and hopefully now you can understand what it actually relates to. It's these halos, it's the overlap of halos and the special place, which is the eye. Because our sun's projection unit is actually within the eye of the sun's halo system, and that's where the sun's image is coming from. And this is the other well on the east side of Node 3, the White Spring. Notice the sacred geometry, the spiral there, the DNA strand.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt, but your video is seeming very shaded.
Is it?
And yeah, on screen, I can see it beautifully, through our chat box here, but on YouTube, it's got this shading to it, and everybody. It was just the last two videos.
It doesn't matter because, like I said, this will be done as a separate video anyway. I've got most of the words written out for it, but it's not how I want to present it. But it was just to show people what the eye actually is and how special it is, and of course more updates on what's taking place around Glastonbury Tor. And what I wanted to point out as well, these kings and queens, I'm going to do a series on the angels in history and how they've been renamed and hidden so many times in our history. Like with this one here in John Dee's time, this is some of our older work. And if you look at the wording, it's princes and kings and ensigns. This is when they started to assign military designations to this technology. So the angels throughout time have been, renamed and put into categories, militarized and depicted all kinds of ways. So it's, I can see now what they've done and how they've done it in history, but it's quite an easy decode really. So this is what it all relates to, people. It's all back down to this again. And this is what the late Jordan Maxwell was talking about. It all relates to this, the cross. He knew it was related to the cross. And I think he would have loved our decodings if he'd have seen these. This is old work from a few years ago, and it's all related. You can see now there the cones. We now understand that they're cones. And the one with the line through the bottom of it was probably where it would depict the head being cut off, which is the switching Adam off or Eve off. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to people. It gives them a little bit more information on Glastonbury Tor, and the one-eye symbology is this very special place within the Vesica Pisces, and you can see why. This project still isn't finished. There's larger halos still to connect to this. That's going to take you through them built-up areas. So this is just a piece of a bigger decode that you're actually seeing here. But that's the eye, people. That's a very special place in between these two overlapping halos. And on the sun projector and the moon projector, that's exactly where their projection system is contained. I say projection system, it's actually a stand with stimid of some kind of metal that can withstand heat, and it's electrical arcing that's creating that image within this altar. I'll call it an altar. That's what the ancients called it. But it's it'll have a technical word for it that I don't have the word for it yet, but this is where the sun's image and the moon's images are coming from, and it's this special area that helps project it into the sky. It has to be located within the eye for it to be projected. So that's where your Eye of Horus actually comes from. And that was a nice video by Yasmin there, you know, that shows the cone actually coming down, and that's the tip of the sword of Adam, the angel, the electrical part of the process. I hope that makes sense, people.